When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
It is time to check in with Amanda Lang, CTV News Chief Financial Correspondent, and a couple of stories in the news this week. Let's start with Canada's fourth quarter GDP. So the news today, Amanda, is it's contracted down to full year growth at 1.7%. Surprised, and how serious, or is it serious?
It's a little bit kind of to be determined, to be honest. It was weaker than a lot of economists had expected. Flat was sort of the outlook. The contraction is due to a drawdown in inventories. And so this is always a weird one in the GDP data. So you're a business, you keep stock on hand because you think sales are going to be good. They can draw down for two reasons. They can draw down because more customers came through your door and you weren't able to buy more or produce more fast enough. That's a good thing, right? We'll agree. Or they can draw down because you're worried and you're not buying more stuff because you think January is going to be bad. Right. It's not entirely clear to me yet which it is, although I will say retail sales data has been stronger than we thought. So I'm actually more inclined to say the drawdown might be good and that this might actually not be as bad as it looks. But overall, the year at 1.7 is pretty tepid. It's not terrible. I think the economists that I really respect are kind of saying, don't be overly worried about a recession, another quarterly decline in January, in other words, in the first quarter, rather, which would mean a technical recession.
Yeah, so that whole idea of, two consecutive quarters, we're kind of you're talking about the economists sort of putting that behind us. Don't use that as the sole measure to determine how strong the economy is or not.
Yeah, because there's a lot of moving parts. I think really where I'll keep watching is business sentiment, which has improved slightly. That retail, that consumer, which has seemed actually pretty solid at the end of the year, retail sales and consumer sentiment picking up a little bit. Indebtedness is the big wild card to me, to be honest, because we do have, we had the mortgage resets. People are kind of settling in at these higher levels. It might actually be a factor around the kind of where consumer spending plays out. But it does feel to me we're going to get more of the same in 2026, which is we kind of muddle through. We're going to be okay. It's not going to be dramatic one way or the other, barring, as we always have to say, barring any massive unforeseen shock coming out of the White House.
So let's talk a little bit about two speeches yesterday, just very quickly. We had both Dominic LeBlanc and Pierre Poilievre give speeches yesterday, talking about their outlook as far as international trade or relations with the U.S. as far as trade goes. The one that got, I think, the most attention, because I don't think we've ever heard Pierre Poilievre speak to this directly, was the speech he gave yesterday, which I'm sure you've had a chance to hear, and I'm curious for your reaction to it.
I actually think it deserves a lot of attention because it's the first time, in my view, that we heard Pierre Poilievre, leader of the opposition, give the speech people have been waiting for him to give. He didn't seem able to do it through much of last year. And post-leadership review, suddenly he's saying the right things, which is, I believe in Canada. I think we can solve our situation with the U.S. It was much more kind of conciliatory. It wasn't, to me, it was more leader-like, if I can put it that way. I think he made some really valuable contributions, including this idea of kind of all-party committee approach to the trade negotiation. I don't know if the government will take him up on that, but that's an interesting idea. I think Canadians could get behind that. Even the criticism he offered up, it felt like a kind of a new and improved Poilievre to me, because the criticism was more thoughtful. It was less, it just sounded less partisan to me and a little bit more leader-like. So to me, this is a tone people have been waiting for a long time. And, I think that was a really important moment for him and for the party. And
as some people have noted, really the first time, I think he's called out Donald Trump by name.
That's right. And, he's still dealing with some elements of his own party who kind of every now and then go a little bit off the rails in terms of what they're doing and saying relative to the U.S. It happened very recently. I thought he took the right tone there, right? Because we need to be friends, we need to get along, but we don't need to pretend that we're best pals when people are, when our trading relationship is in this kind of turmoil. So I do think, it took a long time to see him arrive here. People were waiting for this. I would call it a pivot, to be honest. And I think he made it, and I think it's an important one. And it'll be good for Canadian politics. With a the note that I thought was really well made was, it is the role of the opposition party to hold the government to account. We all require that. It's what makes our system work so well. And so when that's done properly, it's a really solid thing. And I thought he struck the right note.
Yeah, and he also did say, and I'll move off this, he said, you know what, and that's something we don't hear a lot or haven't heard a lot from Pierre Poilievre, I agree with the Prime Minister on something. Yes. Which is what? What did he just say? But yeah, he did say that as well.
Yeah, so to me, it's a new day. And if it's a way to say we agree, because, the complaint that the Conservatives have made, and some of it's valid, is that the Liberals have sort of co-opted a lot of their policies and they're running with them. Well, the Conservatives need to claim them back if people are going to vote them into office. So I thought it was smart. I think it's better for our system if we see this kind of level of maturity. I don't know if that's the right word, but anyway, it's the right tone. We all have to be pulling together, but it doesn't mean we all have to agree all the time.
So meanwhile, as I said, Dominic LeBlanc also giving a speech yesterday. We know he's meeting with the U.S. trade rep next week. I know every week we talk, I kind of bring up the question. I think a lot of Canadians wonder, where exactly are we right now? And of course, given the fact, that the Supreme Court ruled against Donald Trump, nothing in Canada really, from what I understand, please clarify or tell me if I'm wrong, has really changed significantly since that announcement as far as tariffs go, has it?
No. And that is because so I would say not directly, because we weren't really hit with any of those IEEPA tariffs. Our tariffs on aluminum and steel and lumber are Section 232. It's a different formula that they used. Having said that, we benefited because some of the U.S. trading partners were hit with the IEEPA tariffs, and so our goods might have looked better for a little while. So there might be actually a little bit of, a little kind of rebalancing happening there. But you're right to say that ruling didn't affect us directly. It did. I think it's really important, coming as it does when we're about to head back into, this period where we might take a serious look at whatever the renewal talks are. He was very clear. It's not a renegotiation. It's just a kind of a renewal review. And I think that's a kind of a well-made point. But it does put the White House back on its heels a little bit, that they have a Supreme Court that does think Congress plays a role. It's not just a one-man band. And that does take some of the power out of the presidency, which is valuable to us right now, I think, from a negotiating point of view.
Has anything come up since then with relation to CUSMA, either good, bad, or indifferent? Is this still a matter of, I think it's going to be renegotiated, but we're not entirely 100% sure?
Nothing public. And look, what I would say is few people would know better than Dominic LeBlanc where it's at and what's happening. And so what he's willing to say publicly, of course, will be limited. But that he's able to say he's feeling optimistic. It's not a full renegotiation. It's sort of an agreement to extend or not, that there might be things, that we need to discuss, but it's not clear. I think that's probably a very accurate picture of what's happening. And I think my understanding is that there are teams that work on this. This is not something that's going to happen at the last minute between, our prime minister and the president. There are groups already kind of figuring out in the background what will be discussed, but I don't know that we have any traction yet on where it goes. Okay. And maybe it will be simple. Maybe it'll be easy.
Always, cross our fingers and hope that's the case. Last thing I will ask you about really quickly, we know the Prime Minister is in India today. We're going to be talking more about this later. This is the biggest consumer market in the world. Just how important is this trip?
It's a big deal. I mean, reopening our diplomatic relationship, I think, is important. I think there was some kind of suggestion that we might actually try to get to a more formalized trade agreement. That would be a positive thing. Of course, it's a huge market. It doesn't make it easy to trade there just because we have a trade agreement, easier, but it's still a long way away. So I think anything we can do to smooth the path for Canadian businesses to think about that market. And remember, some of our biggest exports are in services. You can get them there easily, and we do a great job of digital exports. So to me, it's important that we do this.
All right. We will leave it at that. Amanda, I thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Great to talk.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.